This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if your normal situation stops being normal, you're sick. Yeah.
Well, in a way, not all the time,
Yeah.
but I think if your life situation is not what it should be, then you cannot be comfortable.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yes.
Well, okay. Well, we're looking into a number of things today. I mean, I think that was a good interpretation in terms of where you get your sustenance from. So if that's not working too well, perhaps you need to think about something else. So we're going to look into a number of things. And again, thank you for coming this morning. We straddle the political and we straddle the government as well. So obviously you sitting in the position of governor of Siaya County, where often is the bedrock of quite a number of things. Let's start off from that. How are you straddling the two? Whereby the political scene at the moment is hotting up, but there's still governance that needs to be done. How are you able to sit in both those positions before we dive into those waters?
It has been my life, because even if you're an elected member of parliament, you've got to take care of your constituencies. Similarly, the position of a governor is an elective position, and you have to come from a county. And running a county depends on the politics of the day. You are sponsored by a political party. You've got to be active in the activities of the political party. And by taking part in discussions, national discussions, they have an impact on what is happening on the ground in the counties.
Right.
And similarly, how we run the counties has an impact in a way on national discourse.
Right.
Yeah.
It was seen as though it was necessary for you at some point to pay tribute to Statehouse sometime last year, and that everybody else seemed to have gone, but James Orengo didn't go. But then at some point you did. But then it didn't seem to have a very good taste in your mouth. And even after your visit to Statehouse, as the governor of Siaya, who was maybe corralling people around to be part of the broad-based government, you seem to take an about turn, and that move to visit Statehouse, then you seem to go in the opposite direction. Why?
I have not shifted, have not moved. I go by the Constitution because the Constitution says the two levels of government should work in collaboration and in cooperation with each other. So when there is a basis and a need to engage the national government appropriately, I'll not hesitate to do that. But you remember the struggle for change in Kenya and reform. Part of it was against the Imperial presidency, that the presidency becomes an institution to be worshipped. The presidency becomes the institutions where you draw your largesse. This should have gone away with this current constitution, the Constitution 2010. I think the Imperial presidency is back. Everybody is running to Statehouse. Everybody wants the president around in order to advance their activities, which are well set in the Constitution. I think that clawback may need us to exercise some vigilance. It's not a good thing which is happening.
Yeah, because one asks the question, when you talk about Imperial presidency that is back then, that you have to go to Statehouse, beg for development to come to you as an elected member of parliament, or even as an elected governor. One asks the question then, are people in these offices today understand their role? Do they understand the constitution they're operating within? Because then the constitution is so clear on the roles that a governor does. The development, it is not a favor, it is a right that should come to you, and there are ways within which you can ensure that development comes to you. If you're a member of parliament, all you need to do is go to the floor of the house and task those there to ensure that this comes to you. It is not prerogative of the president to bring development to you.
Yeah, because resources should be shared equitably. The Constitution says so. There's a formula for counties to share resources. It doesn't depend on the presidency. There's a formula that the Senate establishes every 5 years. So that being the case, I think it is wrong that we should find ourselves in a situation where whenever the president visits a county or any part of Kenya, you go on worshipping almost the institution and start saying, we need a road, we need a bridge. Whereas, our budgetary system is a program-based budget. So if there's a road to be built in a county, it should be spelled out in the budget. And if it is not in the budget, the president should not make roadside decisions and say, I'm going to give you a market, I'm going to give you this and that. That should not happen under the current constitution.
And that it's okay for Kenyans to say that because we operate in a budget system where we know everything that is planned for has to come from the budget, that when roadside declarations are made and Kenyans call you out for that, it is not because they have anything against you. It's because we understand the constitution, we understand how everything happens, and that nobody should feel some type of way. It's just Kenyans asking you to operate by the law.
Well, that is the case, and that's the part of the big debate we should be having as a nation and how to get it right.
Yeah.
And yet, even as we say what the Constitution says, what it should do or what it shouldn't do, we see a very opposite direction in which this is all going. Your party, the ODM movement, which you've been a member of for... we don't even know how long at this point. I mean, this has always been your party for the longest time, even having moved from others previously. But this has been essentially the bedrock of your political activity. Is very much in an agreement with the ruling party of the day, whereby it has mainly held an opposition position. It seems very different today. It also seems to be at cross purposes with what you have said in the recent past. Is that the case? Is the way the ODM party operating at the moment at cross purposes with its initial agenda?
That is the case, and I have no problems about talking about my misgivings about what's happening in the party. You remember the fight for Kenya to become a multi-party system. It took us 20, 30 years to restore multi-partyism in Kenya after Kenya became a de facto and a de jure one-party state. And parties are guaranteed under the Constitution to have character, identity, and integrity. Now, so what is happening with our party is that for all intents and purposes, it is being operated from Statehouse. The leadership of the party takes instructions and orders from Statehouse. Now, the occupant of Statehouse has a different party, a party which has agreements and accords with other political parties. Now, for me, that spells a lot of danger. The party is going to grow smaller. We have seen the party even failing to sponsor candidates in areas where the party has been very strong, like in the Western region and in Kisii and quite a number of other places.
And why is this the case? That one would imagine that Raila Odinga would roll over if he saw what was happening now. The headline on the Standard today calls your party leader, your party chair, Ruto's spanner girl. Sounds like you would agree with that.
I agree with it entirely. And it's a shame that we should be having such a headline. You know, ODM, as we speak, legally leads the opposition in parliament. The leader of the minority in the National Assembly is a member of ODM. The leader of the minority in the Senate is a member of the ODM. And a lot of other leadership positions in the parliament are occupied by ODM as a party. There are specific oversight committees, very critical, which by virtue of ODM being the main opposition party in Parliament, is occupying like the Public Accounts Committee, both in the Senate and in Parliament. So how do you carry out audits and oversights effectively against a government which really have gone to bed with for all intents and purposes?
But where did this begin? Where did this start? Because it seems to have been extremely overt after the death of Raila Odinga. But it seems as though the cracks may have been there before, because it didn't take very long for them to come out into the public glare, and there were, denials of anything until it was very clear that, there was something happening. Where did this all begin?
There are people you tend to have in the party who find it hard to be in the opposition. And in fact, when Raila was alive, there were a lot of people in the party who wanted some form of engagement with the government. Just like in previous governments, including the Uhuru government, we had people in the party who wanted some engagements or even coalitions with the ruling party. And I can tell you without fear of contradictions that those who eventually became cabinet secretaries in the current government really did not go there out of a party resolution. The party did not sit down and say, we want a coalition with UDA. Even as we speak now, there's no coalition agreement between UDA and ODM. There is no instrument or even a directive coming from the leadership of the ODM party saying we are formally engaging the government of the day, the UDA government, and for that matter, we are sending these individuals to you. What happened? They ran and joined the UDA government behind the back of Raila Odinga. And Raila Odinga, in his wisdom, thought that if they went there without some party consent, it will diminish the party in certain areas like the coast. So it was not a party decision. It was purely a decision made by the 6 or so people who were in cabinet. But there's no coalition agreement between ODM and UDA.
Yeah, today we look at the leadership in the party, and one of the things they talk about is fact that they have decided to support the presidency, the re-election of President William Ruto in 2027. And one asks the question then, because the last statement that former Prime Minister Raila Odinga made in a hotel in Nairobi was, who told you that we would not field a candidate in 2027? We are ODM and that is not our style. And that has been quoted by different players within the party. You talk about Sifuna saying, we go as per the last direction that were given by our party leader Raila Odinga, that we would get into politics because we'll get into presidency because we've always done that. Why is it that seems as if within ODM there are those who go as per what Raila Odinga stood for, and there are those who are looking the other way around? Is it for the benefit of the party or for self-preservation?
No, it is not for the benefit of the party. It's for self-aggrandizement. It's for personal benefit. And the reason being that ODM is simply a bigger party than UDA as we speak now. It is a fact that many members of the of UDA from Central Kenya are there in name. They're there nominally, but they vacated that party a long time ago. Now, so if you count numbers of those who are loyal to UDA and are loyal to ODM, ODM is the larger party. And how, in any circumstances, ODM now can be the party that is supporting a candidate from another party, it defeats logic. But the truth is, as you said, Raila said quite openly in his last statement to a formal setting of a parliamentary group that these utterances about 2 terms should stop, and that nobody was told that ODM was not going to have a candidate in 2027. I think that if ODM doesn't have a candidate in 2027, and the way we are going, it will end up being a very small regional party, and we must fight against that.
We see a bit of a shift. Well, it's not a bit of a shift, it's quite a shift, because there are two groups within the ODM party today. And everybody says that they're still part of the party. So which one is it?
I mean, if you're in the party and you are doing everything to violate the vision and the mission of the party, and you read the ODM constitution, the very first objective of the party is to form government, not join other parties to form government. That is a specific objective of the party. Then ODM has certain principles and objectives, including democracy and even governance, things like the Bill of Rights, that we should respect the Bill of Rights. Now, in all this arrangement, ODM is not only becoming the junior partner in the arrangement, but also every day as we associate with UDA, we are violating the very foundation of the principles that makes ODM. So the Linda Ground Group I think they're being transactional. They're simply trying to do a brokerage, do a deal without protecting the soul of the party. The Linda Mwananchi party, group, is fighting for the soul and spirit of the party and maintaining the integrity of the party.
I mean, one would ask the question, the two factions that we see within ODM, one would have hoped that as individuals who believed in the vision and the promise that ODM carried, that these are issues that would have been squashed easily by individuals sitting down and agreeing on which way to go forward, starting from the party constitution, going to the final statement Raila Odinga made. Why is that difficult, James? Why is it difficult for individuals to sit down and sort it out? Is it that individuals are so proud of themselves that they do not see the bigger vision of the party? Because the party is not the leadership of the party. The party is the members who form the party.
Yes.
So what are ODM members, Mwananchi, those who come for these NDCs, saying with regard to the way forward ODM should go? Because all you're hearing is this camp is saying we're in broad-based. This other side is saying, no, we are not in broad-based. There is what ODM stands for.
We have a leadership, or part of the leadership, which is trying to impose positions on the party and the membership of the party. And you're quite right. Logically, what should happen is that if there was any coalition to be formed between the party and any other party or parties, the party itself, using its organs, should sit down and have a debate and then set the principles and the minimum requirements for such an arrangement to be entered into. It should not be a top-down arrangement. So now the membership is being told of decisions already made. For example, the Central Committee, we were told, sat and said they have given the opportunity to the party leader to start these negotiations. What we are looking for is not clear to the membership. And even to that leadership, what they want from that arrangement is not clear. Sometimes they say, the very minimum is the vice presidency. Sometimes they say they don't want it. But it should not be about just positions. I think the bedrock should be the interests of the people and the membership and the nation at large.
Is this the end of ODM as we've known it?
I don't think it's the end of ODM. I think we have young people in ODM and other very principled people in ODM. And the Raila legacy, I don't think, is going to die. They are trying to kill Raila politically. Raila passed away, in circumstances that we were all taken by surprise. But now they are trying to kill Raila politically because we must protect that legacy. And even as a party, I think Raila built what is truly a national party. I think ODM is a party we can say today that has got footprints nationally. I remember when we were in Fort Kenya, even under Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, the party was, in terms of the members of parliament we had at that time, were basically about 30 members, largely from Nyanza and partly Western. But Raila then built a behemoth, political behemoth, which now had members of parliament from all over the republic. Now we are being reduced to a tiny little party that talks about tiny little issues like positions instead of addressing the larger issues, including the issues that are well spelled out in the Memorandum of Understanding.
Agree. As a professor of law, one would ask the question then that individuals who are speaking so loudly about the party today are cabinet secretaries who ordinarily, because of their position as cabinet secretaries, they cease to play politics. They would not even be, they're not supposed to be seen to be championing ODM matters because they're cabinet secretaries, right? But here we have individuals who have decided, you know what, the law is a suggestion that we will do as we wish, that we would get out here and do everything as opposed to what ODM has stood for a very long time. And when these declarations are made by individuals who, by virtue of their position, cease to be making decisions for the party, how then can one sit and allow that to happen or say they are speaking for ODM? Because one would say, because their boss has shifted to be the president from a different party, they would not in any way be championing ODM matters. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. And I am shocked that these individuals who took oath of office and swore to protect and defend the Constitution as they entered the office of the county of cabinet secretaries, which requires of them not to engage in matters political, not even to be officials of the political party, but also not to engage on political issues as promoted or pronounced by political parties. But now they're going out there all, campaigning for the president, campaigning for certain positions which they think ODM should take, which means, in essence, they are violating the Constitution. I think that's the starting point. They should actually be punished or rebuked for participating in politics. But because they fear that this thing they have gotten for their own personal interests may be lost any time, and they want to continue enjoying it beyond 2027, they can't sit still in the offices and deliver the mandate on their mandates. Instead, they spend half the time campaigning for the president and for the political party and directing the political party what to do. If they were saying, okay, ODM, we should promote the Constitution, we should promote good governance, probably one would be a little bit kind to them. But they are telling the party what to do, which direction to take. And this is not allowed under our current Constitution.
And the party leader is the older brother to the late Raila Odinga. And he's been there in all of this, in the trenches. He's been there when ODM
I'm not sure about the trenches.
I know, maybe not the trenches. You were definitely in the trenches. He's been there, maybe standing at the edge of it or something. But he's been there, Governor. He's been there. But he seems to be speaking today at cross purposes. Is he speaking on his own accord? Or is he being pushed to speak from where you understand it?
I think he's being pushed. He's got people around him who are not letting him rest. They are not giving him time to think. They are not even giving him space to talk to other people in the party or other organs of the party whose views may be different. But I think we cannot just say that this is happening because he's being surrounded by a certain clique or cabal or politicians. I think he's been in politics long enough to see openly that the direction he's taking is killing the party. Dr. Buru is a good man. He's an honest man. He comes from a political family, so the experience should be there, and he cannot be tutored, having lived and participated in the politics of two great men, Jaramogi and Raila Odinga. But as he puts it in his book, the title of his book says, "In the Shadow of My Father." So I think being the shadow portrays somebody who was always in the background when critical decisions were being made. Yeah. So that may be the reason.
Well, speaking about the trenches, that's a place that is not unfamiliar to you. Go back as far as, 24 years ago, whereby there was a shift in power after 24 years in the presidency for Kenya. And Raila Odinga essentially handed a win to Mwai Kibaki when he said Kibaki Tosha. At that point, there was a change. And a change in political terms, we use the word revolution. Now, we have seen in the recent past, over the last several weeks, that the voice of Kenya seems to be speaking the voice of some people seem to be speaking when they adhere to and connect with Linda Mwananchi in terms of what's going on. A platform which you stood on and spoke and said some very serious things. Is Kenya in another revolution moment?
I think we're in a revolutionary moment. I think it was hijacked by the political class. I think the Gen Zs were out there trying to bring fundamental change to this country. In every generation or in every 100 years of a nation's political life, forces gather like storms to correct whatever wrongs have existed in society. And I think we had a revolutionary moment, a reform moment in 2024. But it was hijacked, and I think that has not gone away. I would actually appeal to the young people that moment didn't go. That moment was just suspended. And probably they should come back on deck and fight for these rights. Otherwise, if it is left for political parties, sometimes you can have a country like Congo or Zaire, where you had 100 political parties, and Mobutu was just a puppet master. He was controlling all these political parties. So you have political parties, but they are political parties in name. For example, we have a party like ODM, which entered into an MOU with President Ruto. Instead of talking about what is in that MOU that are for the interest of the people, we are busy talking about 2027 and what positions we are going to get. So I think the young people should reconnect, organize, and push for some of these changes to take place.
And the June 27th, 2024, is a point of conversation. Why? Because it is from that then that we see conversations that ended up ODM and UDA under broad-based arrangement, right? And as we talk about that, the 10-point agenda, which is actually a few days before the deadline, in terms of implementation, one would have hoped that as these two individuals came together and saw the need to address these 10 points, that ODM being in opposition would get to work and ensure that these issues have actually been implemented. that these issues Kenyans were talking about, the issues that the gentlemen appended their signatures on, are things that would be pushed. But we are not seeing what you're talking about, that this agenda is not being discussed. How would you rate it from where you sit? Do you think we've moved a needle, even an inch, with regard to the 10-point agenda? Because 7th is coming soon.
Yeah. I think ODM, if we leave it the way it is simply a puppet of the ruling party. And we should always remember what Raila Nyerere said to CCM. Watanzania wanataka mageuzi. Wakikosa kupata mageuzi ndani ya CCM, watazitafuta nje ya CCM. So, I mean, if ODM goes to bed with a party that is causing a lot of problems, that is affecting a lot of our people, then the people themselves, like it has happened so many times in history, in America, in France, in England, when you have had these revolutions, people have stepped out and say we can't have this mess anymore. So I am appealing to our people in ODM to wake up. If you don't wake up, what happened in 2024 June is going to happen again, and we'll be not part of the solution. We'll be part of the problem. Yeah, and in the French Revolution, nearly everybody was in leadership, was guillotined, including the people who came to leadership in the name of the revolution. They were all guillotined. Now we are putting ourselves in a situation where the political class becomes part of the problem.
Do you think today, as we sit, the position that ODM has been seen for a very long time as being pro-people? You talk about the Sufuria movement immediately after the election, going to the streets, standing with the people. And with ODM and the fragmentation that we see today, are we able to confidently say that the ODM that Raila Odinga stood with for 20 years plus is the same ODM in the eyes of Kenyans today?
It's not the same, and that's why people like Ososi, Babu Wino, Sifuna, myself, and quite a number of others are trying to say we can recapture this lost ground. We can make ODM the party that it should be. I mean, even looking at this MOU signed by Raila Odinga and President Ruto, it's not about positions. Is a pro-people document that is talking about the interests of the people. And now we have a situation where every time my colleagues in ODM rise up in political meetings, all they can say, we're in broad-based government, we are assuring Ruto for 2 terms. There's no discussion about the problems which are confronting the nation at the moment. And I think there are elements within the party that are prepared. Although we must fight from within the party. I want to emphasize that. We must fight from within the party. But I think there are elements in the party from this reform tradition who are progressive. And I think they're going to stand up and be counted in the current circumstances.
Fingers of blame have been pointed at President William Ruto for trying to disintegrate the party and been using people within the party who are in influential positions to do this. He said publicly that he has no benefit. There's no benefit to him if ODM disintegrates. He says that, everybody continues to run their political race. So of what benefit would it be to him if ODM is a shell of what it used to be before?
Well, if he says that, in the document that he signed, he committed himself to the integrity of political parties, not just ODM. He said that political parties, their character and identities must be protected. So if he says that, then there it is for ODM, that this is what the president is saying. He doesn't believe in political parties. I think President Ruto is cut from the same cloth like most of the original dictators in Africa. It's just that we have a good constitution. But left on his own without a document like the constitution we have, I think his tendencies and inclinations to have an imperial type of presidency.
So if ODM stays in bed with UDA, which is what is happening right now, you can call it whatever it is, but, if it quacks like a duck, your guess is as good as mine. Now, if this happens and William Ruto is the presidential candidate for this, whatever this may be, of course, knowing that the broad-based government is not a coalition agreement between the two parties. That has long been established. But if this were to happen, where the endorsement of current President William Ruto in 2027 then becomes almost like a coalition, what happens to folks who may want to vie for positions in the future whose creed then is in complete dissonance with the coalition?
I think the choice will be made at the right time, but it is imminent that will happen because if you force people to be part of a party which is going to bed with your adversary, then you have to make a decision. And Kenyans, you have seen even at the time when people glorified KANU, when there was an instance to move from that party in 1992. A lot of people moved from KANU. But the danger is that he succeeds because disorganization is part of his tool. Just disorganize everybody. And then you succeed. But the safest thing that I can say to Kenyans about 2027 in ensuring that the status quo does not continue is that if you look at the numbers and the areas from which President Ruto relies on electoral votes, there's no pathway to victory. There's no pathway to victory for him unless the opposition does not get its act together.
So what would that look like for James Orengo, for example? I mean, you're an ODM MP, ODM senator, ODM governor, and if this now looks different...
ODM minister.
ODM minister. I mean, you've been through all of it on ODM, and if you're saying that this party at some point looks like it might, do the, bread and butter thing, then what happens to James Orengo, for example?
I mean, I think if that happens, it is not about James Orengo. First, the political party will die. And political parties have died. You look at Europe and all over, political parties die and new ones come up. The Labour Party, as we know it today, came up after the Second World War and is now and has been one of the major political parties in the UK. If ODM chooses, and God forbid, to go to bed with Ruto for the next elections, I think there will be a lot of people who will make will quit the party. But being somebody who fought with Raila, was in the trenches with Raila, we don't want that to happen. It'd be a disaster if we allow that to happen. It'd be a tragedy for somebody who fought so hard over a span of over 50 years and left such a wonderful legacy that we should then avail our political party to somebody who actually ran against Raila Amolo Odinga. Raila would be president today if Ruto didn't win the presidency. Now, I think it's tragic that we're handing over Raila's political party to his rival in the last elections.
I mean, Raila Odinga's death has come with a lot of consequences, and one of that is what we see in ODM today. That is the disintegration that we see. And one then looks at what ODM seems to be doing is supporting the opponent. And if NDC was to be called today, because even before the broad-based, Raila went around the country meeting up with his people to give him to actually advise him on what to do before the broad-based arrangement.
You're quite right. You're quite right.
Right. Yeah. So here we are now in a position where even this marriage that many are pushing pushing to be together with the UDA government for 2027 is a decision of a few individuals and not involving Kenyans.
It's a forced marriage.
You meet with Kenyans. We've seen in these political parties, Linda Mwananchi, all over the place. What are Kenyans saying? What are these Kenyans who form ODM telling you? Should NDC be called today?
At ward or branch levels or at county levels, they should not be denied a chance to participate in the NDC. And that seems to be what is happening.
So is this disorganization between amongst ODM members at this point position disorganization, or is it that there is a faction who are concerned about the issues that Kenyans continue to face and would hope that an elected government would then come and sort out?
Yes, I think there are people in ODM and the majority, the membership, who want an ODM that can help resolve the problems that are confronting the nation. And they think that the next government, the next elected government is going to be able to solve those problems because this current government cannot be able to solve those problems. Just take even the issue of debt. We're seeing rising debt, and they're saying by the year, in the next 3 years, our debt levels are going to be 17 trillion. I can't even pronounce it. Now, and they're selling national assets because they borrow until they cannot borrow anymore. That's why a lot of these state agencies are being put on block for auction, literally. So I see a situation where if we are not very careful, we are disorganized the way we are being disorganized. We are providing a pathway for the UDA candidate to win. But there's a solid team within the party. And it's demonstrated everywhere. We have been to ODM strongholds in Kakamega, here in Nairobi, in Kitengela, and we're going to Nyanza, and we're going to go to Mombasa. You know, the energy that people have, not that they like our speeches and the music we play, but I think, in this group, we have a vehicle that probably can bring change to the country. I must say that even if you went to the Linda Ground Group rally in Siaya, it was an awful affair. People were buzzed. In my life, I never saw at any one time, whenever we had rallies, that people are buzzed. You have an ODM function, and you see 50 yellow buses hired from schools. You can see the opulence. I think Ruto...
And this never happened at an ODM rally
never,
in the history that you
never happened.
know of.
Yeah, you can find ODM officials being able to, chopper themselves into rallies, 6-7 choppers on the ground. And the money, in Harambes, ODM officials are now giving 2-3 million shillings as donations. This is coming from somewhere. And literally it's happening because, there's been a hostile takeover of the party.
You talk about Linda Ground, and we saw the rally that happened in Siaya, and even in the rally that happened in Siaya, what came out, rather, what I picked was the fact that individuals came to Siaya County not to address issues that people of Siaya County are going through, or even give people of Siaya County, who are considered to be majority in ODM, the way forward within the party. But they were there to say, one term for one, James Agri Orengo. And one asks the question, like Ndua said, even the infighting that we see today, what Kenyans want to hear is, there is runaway corruption. How are we sorting it? Economy is high. How are we sorting it? There are Kenyans who were killed during the June 25th demonstrations. Where are we with regard to justice? Because we've had conversations with regard to compensation and not justice. Kenyans want all these answers given on their table. And we hope that those in parliament would do that. Those that donated themselves to the government and the cabinet secretaries, these are policy issues that they will be pushing with the hope that Kenya gets that.
If we're in a parliamentary system, ODM would be the alternative government. In a parliamentary system, ODM would actually, drive itself into office at any time. I mean, in Britain, you've seen cases where prime ministers change within months, and they either come from the same party or the alternative party, becomes the government of the day. So that, as we speak now, if you ask those who are now conducting the affairs of ODM, that what you do in your first 100 days in government, they have no answer, because it's just, 2 terms for Ruto. We're in broad-based, and if you go to rallies in areas like Siaya and beyond Siaya, is Orengo. I'm not getting tired of it, because I think in the business of politics, you must be prepared to be called names, to be heckled. I remember when I was first in Parliament, we were just about 3 or 4 members of Parliament who could say anything against the government. And most of the time we were being heckled. We were not afraid to be heckled. We made our points. But there's something fascist about the way we are conducting our affairs. The state has surrendered its instruments of violence, so to speak, because it controls armaments, it controls, our arsenals. But now, in rallies where the government is involved, and a party which is working with government is involved, why use goons? Using goons, it shows the picture that the state has failed to maintain peace and order. In fact, even the state has a duty that even rallies organized by the opponents, they should make sure that those rallies are not interfered with.
Right.
But now, you're having a rally in Kakamega, and the airport in Kisumu is blocked by goons. Some hotels are surrounded by goons, and they're goons who are deployed by state officials. Now, this is how Papa Doc destroyed a country which was founded on a revolutionary, struggle against France, and that's Haiti. And Kenya, I hope we don't have our own Papa Doc.
At the moment. Are you surprised by the numbers that when Linda Mwananchi says we're going to have a meeting? Are you surprised by the numbers that we're seeing started in Kitengela? And of course, what was it said that, it's just happenstance that the number of people who were there joined Kitengela. And then we saw Kakamega after that. And then if there are going to be others, are you surprised by the numbers who are coming out to hear what it is that is being said?
I would say I'm not surprised. But I'm also surprised because the numbers sometimes, overwhelm you. Like Kitengela, we couldn't even get a public address system to address the entire multitude of people who turned up. And our main public address system, of course, was destroyed by goons. But this speaks of the situation where the country is a revolutionary moment, and I think we must use it, not use it against the law, but using all necessary means to ensure that Kenyans get what they deserve.
I'd like us to take a break and listen to the news. I'm going to come back. Governor James Orengo is with us in the studio today, and we're looking at the politics of the day. We're going to look into a little bit of governance as well. But then also one thing that is on the minds of many is that you suggested and then alluded and then maybe said with a certain amount of conviction that Raila Odinga was killed We'll come back and look into some details of that. And then it seems as though Linda Mwananchi, somebody wants to register that as a political party, and you are saying no, it's not us, and asking the registrar of political parties to put a hold on that. We'll look into some details of that conversation when we come back from this break. James Orengo is with us in the studio this morning. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's 9 o'clock.
This
time I'll try to talk about it a little louder. But I'm saying, if you look at the circumstances in which Raila was evacuated from Kenya, he didn't go to India willingly. I think he was almost, forced to go to India and to a particular institutions with a company of certain individuals who I have a lot of questions to raise about them. And, we don't have a post-mortem report now. But looking at all the elements Raila had, which were in the public domain, the ones which are in the public domain, it's quite clear that what caused his death had nothing to do with the elements that he had. So I believe that there was some intervention, and if a proper inquiry is held and established, the truth will come out. Now, I say this because I was in the case, the inquest for my friend George Captain. I was in the I was a family doctor for Mutula Kilonzo Senior. I was in the Ouko murder trial. And sometimes even when professionals tell you that this is what happened, it requires verification. Ouko, when he died, somebody suggested, and these were government people, that he committed suicide and then burnt himself.
Right.
I was in the Julie Ward trial. Again, one of those murders that if one didn't go into verification of what actually happened, it had been dismissed to a situation where government was saying that she must have been killed by wild animals. So we are quite, the nation is being put to slumber to accept the death of Raila as natural. But I'm saying that we need to look into it. And the public has an interest. There's a public interest by virtue of his position and standing in Kenya.
Okay. The Linda Mwananchi, we're going to call it a faction now of ODM, because that's what it, for all intents and purposes, is what it is. There has been an attempt to register a political party under the name Linda Mwananchi, with that the principals of this faction are the ones who've given the go-ahead for it. But you've come out to say very clearly that it is not you, and that you've asked the registrar of political parties to decline to accept that registration application. Sounds like something may be cooking, and that you are saying that you smell a rat. What's going on?
Well, this kind of things have happened in the past. When we have a popular political movement, somebody runs very fast to register a party in that name, and then you are put into a situation where you have to buy the party off that particular person. This happened with ODM actually. Yeah. Is exactly what happened to ODM. But sometimes the state would sometimes do that if they think that the movement would grow into a political party. Then they would stem it by causing the registration of that party with other persons as officials and members.
Okay.
But certainly it is not us, and it is not our intention to register a political party because we are members of ODM, and we want to remain to be
members of
ODM.
Yeah. One would ask the question then, what's the end goal here? Because we were talking about, as members of ODM, there are two factions. So we have Linda Ground, we have Linda Mwananchi. What's the end goal for the Linda Mwananchi faction that is in ODM with regard to, first of all, vying for re-election through ODM, but still under the faction Linda Mwananchi? What is the end goal? Is it to fix ODM? Is it to kick out individuals that are not playing by the rules? What's the end goal?
In political movements, political parties, you normally have caucuses. Yeah, you may have a caucus that is concerned about the environment or human rights. So Linda Mwananchi is interested first in defending and protecting Raila's legacy. Secondly, that public documents which were pronounced and were in the hand of Raila Amolo Odinga, like the Memorandum of Understanding, which is expiring on the 7th of March this Saturday, actually, and the NADCO report, that all this should be implemented. They should not be thrown into the dustbin. Because we have a group within the party that are just interested in being in government, irrespective. Whether it's an ODM government, they want to be in government. And that is happening already, because you've got ODM members in a UDA government. And they're making a lot of noise about it. There are other people who come from other political parties who have ended up in the broad-based government, people like Mutai Kagwe and others. But they're not making all that noise. They're just doing their work. One, we want that legacy, and secondly, this instrument to be complied with. And thirdly, we want the party to be in the right hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we envisioning a situation where both Linda Mwananchi and Linda Ground would come together as ODM members to squash the problems and have a united ODM? And what will it take for us to end up there?
We're open to that. We're open to that. But our friends don't want people to sit on the table. They're having it too good. They're having just too good. The opulence and the treatment they're getting from the state. They can't imagine another world. This is an El Dorado for them. They have reached Canaan, and then this one, I don't think they have gone through Singapore.
Touché. We have to come back to it, this 10-point agenda, because it seems to be the glue that was holding these two parties together. That we were told, Kenyans were told, that to bring a situation of peace and order in the country, that there needed to be an agreement on how things would be done. And that's how this 10-point agenda came into place. The NADCO report and its full implementation being number one on the agenda. And we saw other things, come in, public debts, right to assembly being protected, and all of these things as a result. Should these things not be agreed on, initially it was thought that there would be a meeting. What Mheshimiwa Jeanette is calling joint NDC, or rather a joint parliamentary group meeting between UDA and ODM to take place on the 10th at KICC. If it is seen from that report that this 10-point agenda was not met, Edwin Sifuna has been clear that come 7th of March, our business is over. We don't have anything to do with this anymore. Which is it? Which is it? Is there a joint meeting on the 10th? Does it come to an end on Saturday?
And I repeat that if this memorandum of understanding is not implemented by Saturday, then whatever marriage exists, it is over. It is over. And our other friends were saying that there's no deadline. There's no deadline that this agreement can be implemented over time.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just want to read the first paragraph, which is just 4 lines. The full implementation of the National Dialogue Committee NADCO report. Priority issues in the NADCO process, like the cost of living, youth unemployment, establishing a framework for the implementation of the two-thirds gender rule have been the topics for discussion for far too long and must be actualized now. So this thing of talking about, we're having 2-3 years to implement this MOU does not arise, and I think it'd be shameful that you carry out an audit like they were saying yesterday. They think Ruto has implemented 60% of the MOU, and therefore they have given him a pass. I think that would be disaster.
For the people of Kenya to activate their constitutional rights towards who comes into a position of leadership and governance is by the vote. And that in all of this, it seems as though the 10-point agenda was a shiny toy that some people in the committee would play with for a while, and that people are fed as audience to a lot of the rallies that we see, a lot of the noise that we hear. But without the activation of that vote, then the people of Kenya are not involved in their governance. How does the energy, this inertia, Governor, move from the rallies and the thought that the elements of a political party like democracy and social justice and the elevation and protection of human rights actually become something that people imbibe? Because beyond that, it's just noise on a Saturday at a rally.
Well, we will organize. We'll think through a pathway towards achieving what is spelled out in the MOU. And you saw what the Gen Z did in June 2024. And I think with leadership and a little more organization, because you yourself said it, the energies that are exhibited in these rallies show quite clearly that the Kenyan people want change. How to actualize it is the problem. So we're engaged in a discussion on how this can be achieved. But as you said also at the beginning, you must involve the people. You must put an agenda before the people. Because we are simply working on the ODM manifesto for the last elections and these instruments that we have here. But if the government of President Ruto becomes intransigent, then we must apply other tools and other strategies to make sure it happens.
I want to look at the activation of that vote, right? Transitioning everybody else into, after you give them an agenda as to why then they need to vote. But at the center of that then is IEBC, where then the report also spoke in terms of reconstitution, constitution rather, of IEBC. Commissioners are there, granted. But you have to go further to look into what exactly is happening towards a 2027 election where Kenyans will have an opportunity to vote. Have we revisited the 2022 election? Have we audited the same? No. You look at the voter registration exercise that is ongoing right now. Where are we with that? Little to no information. Where are we with the Kenyans who are of age getting IDs in readiness for the 2027 elections? Where are we with that? Little to no information that is coming in. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to put everything on the table because we can look at the document, right? But there are other facets as well that feed into implementation of the MOU. 2027, IEBC. How would you rate it? Based off the by-elections that we've seen. Are we ready?
Well, IEBC is not ready by their own account. They have been looking for resources and Treasury is saying, we can't give you any more money. We don't have the money. So they are not ready by their own account, not by our own account. Now, but I think the elephant in the room, irrespective of these other processes like registration of voters, preparation of registers, is the technology. There's a law already in place that requires that the technology to be used in an election, before the election, should be inspected and vetted by political parties and other stakeholders, because we have decided to have a technology-based kind of an election. Now, that inspection should be done before the elections, during the elections, and after the elections. Now, and there is also legislation that makes it possible for that to happen. I think this is the elephant in the room. You know, in a place like Brazil, which is a paperless election, on an election day, the presidential elections are announced 2-3 hours after the last person casts his vote. Is automated and is technology based. And problems can only arise on election issues like bribery and violence, but not on the actual process and count of votes. And technology, I think, is the way to go. Now, I think that the current government and the IEBC is not ready and willing to allow people to inspect that into technology. And the people who are hired to deploy that technology or mobilize that technology, they're always suspect companies. Like, you know, you have a country from, you have a group from Venezuela. Now, we just don't want to have a company, but a company which comes from a country where bribery or use of fraudulent election systems in another country is punishable in that country. For example, you remember the Chicken Gate scandal, where a company in Britain, the directors were prosecuted in England and sentenced. So I think that that use of technology is something the government, not even the IEBC, would want to keep it secret and only accessible by a few individuals. Now, IEBC, I still think the current IEBC, the way it was put in place, is also questionable, because we have somebody's cousin, somebody's uncle. I mean, you can assign those members, those commissioners, to individual politicians who made it possible for them to be in that commission. So I think we still have a lot of work to do. Vet the secretariat also, because there has been a problem there also. So there's a lot of work to be done. Unless we say we are going to win the next election by such a majority that it will be impossible to whoever in power to try and rig, such as happened in the year 2002.
Yeah. And even as though this is the conversation that is taking the day, and like you said, I mean, still more meetings planned to essentially get the heartbeat of the people in terms of what's going on. Interestingly enough, this morning we had a conversation around deputy governors, and we asked ourselves, okay, you know, what exactly is going on here? You seem to have had a rough patch with your deputy governor at some point. Is that okay now?
Well, it's still not okay. I think the law, the way it was legislated, did not give deputy governors particular roles. And of course, there was always expectations by deputy governors, sometimes justified, that they should be given definite roles in the running of the county government. And I think I did that in Siaya with my deputy. In fact, basically, I said matters to do with the treasury, with the finance department, would be oversighted by him, and regular reports should be given to him. But I think he decided to go on a path which now I found it very difficult to resolve. His office is open in Siaya. He can go into his office. Occasionally comes to the office. And there's a time when he went out and said he's the leader of opposition in Siaya. On account of the county government. And at one point before this marriage, broad-based government, he said he is in UDA. I mean, I think the problem is with him. If he decides to work as deputy governor, I have no problem.
And how are things going in Siaya County in terms of the development agenda? I mean, before you, days of dengue and rasanga, and then now you, have you seen that since devolution taking place in Siaya County, that things have improved?
Yeah, I mean, we have tried with the resources we got from National Treasury, on the basis of, equitable share. For our county and own source revenue. But if you look, like I believe even for counties like Siaya, the future is urban. We have tarmacked ring roads in some of our towns, Sega, Yala, Akala, Usenge, Siaya itself, where we have finished one of the best stadiums in the entire country, fully funded by the county.
So it's possible to complete stadiums in Kenya.
Yeah. We completed. We completed with our own resources, with a tartan track, which you don't find even the ones which are being built by the national government. Now, in the health sector, I think we're done well. If you talk about Brick and what Brick and Mason. The work that we have done building hospitals, I think in Yala, in Orengo, in Siaya itself, we have built quite a number of medical institutions. In agriculture, which is our mainstay, we have built a rice mill, again with our own funds, a functional, rice mill, and we have a school feeding program in Siaya, and the service provider, we have told that service provider to buy our own rice from that factory. We are entering into an arrangement with an investor to run, because governments don't do business very well. To run that rice mill. So I think overall, if we take account, we have done things that were not there in Siaya, when I took over, and in 3 years, I think we have done a good job.
How is delayed disbursement of funds from the national government to county governments affecting the total absorption of funds that would go generally into development?
Yeah.
And how do we fix that?
I know that's part of the problem, because, the Constitution says that money going to counties should be prompt and in time. Normally, those monies going to counties are not paid 2 months, 3 months running, including money for salaries. So you got to do a lot of gymnastics to make sure that you pay the staff, because that is a primary responsibility. And then you get in a lot of problem with contractors. Because with delayed payments, there are those who raise certificates and invoice the county. You can't pay them on time, so there are contract delays, and you have contractors who are complaining of non-payment. So I'm glad that was also in the MOU. How to improve devolution. Not just by giving it more money, but making sure that the money owes to county gets there promptly.
And is this the reason for pending bills? Because Siaya has a large, we were talking about in hundreds of billions in terms of pending bills for Siaya.
No, it's 100 billions. It's under 1.4 billion.
1.4, sorry. I meant 100 million, not billions. Hundreds of millions of shillings.
And quite a bit of it is historical. The all local authorities. And we are in debate with the authorities concerned on how to deal with those historical debts. But I think our pending bills are serviced within manageable range. But it still is a problem.
Okay.
But if you look at what is happening at the national level, the level of pending
That's
bills.
where we have 100. That's where we've got the
Hundreds of billions.
Okay, our final question to you, because we know we've got to let you go at this point, is that so Kenyans are looking for that moment, something to hold on to, and like we said, we know for sure that you can't build on hope, but it's definitely an ingredient for future. What would you say at this point, looking at the governance administration part of all of this and the political arena, which we are very clearly in today? What would you say to Kenyans who are looking for that something that's going to turn the dial?
I think if we simply guided the affairs of this nation in accordance with the Constitution, I think that's, for me, is the starting point. Do what the Constitution says. Because even if finances, how we manage our finances, they're well set out in the Constitution and in the Public Finance Management Act. If it comes to areas to do with human rights, the Bill of Rights, this is a fairly detailed constitution. In some countries, you have a constitution of about 20, 30 pages, but we have 200 pages of content which tells us what to do. If we simply stuck to it, I think we would be in a good place.
He's Governor of Siaya County, James Agri Orengo, has been our guest this hour. Thank you for having this conversation and doing the situation with us this morning. And we look forward to further conversations with you and seeing how all this unfolds. But thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Asante Sana. Good morning. 28 minutes to 10 o'clock. Conversations continue after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.